a perfectionist, you know, and that's what we're supposed to strive to be, perfectionists. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. I'm my worst critic. Right? You got to look yourself in the mirror. You're your worst enemy. You're your worst enemy. You could look at Esau. Esau is an enemy. He's the devil. But really, you got to look at yourself, because the battle is really within you and yourself. You're your worst enemy a lot of the time. Who's really stopping you a lot? It's you. That's why the scriptures say, give full diligence. Push yourself. Okay? Do the things that are hard to do. When you do the things that are hard to do and may seem difficult, when it gets to that point, it no longer becomes hard. Why? Because you're used to doing it. But the reason why brothers can't do the work, because what? They don't push themselves. So when it gets to that time, they're all sighing on camera. I want to give all praises. That ain't the mentality to be. The Lord's going to get rid of men like that. Because what does that show? You're not really serious about this truth. You're supposed to do this willingly. You're supposed to have a love. You're supposed to have a passion. As soon as you wake up, you're excited about doing this truth. What lesson am I going to do? How am I going to bring this out? That's the mentality you're supposed to have concerning pleasing Yahweh Shai. You think Yahweh Shai is not looking on how you treat this truth? He's looking at every little detail of how you treat this truth. Every last effort. It might get to 7, 8 o'clock at night. And you might be like, you know what? Or 6 o'clock. Oh, you know what? I've done this video. You know what? Let's try and do another one. You know, let's do an... Actually, Slakia, let's throw that out of the window. That word vocabulary. Try that out the window. I'm trying to get that out of my vocabulary. Let's do another lesson. The Lord sees that last effort you put in. You may not want to. Now do it. Do that lesson. The Lord, that's the things Yahweh Shai is looking at. It's the little things Yahweh Shai is looking at. That little effort you made. Fasting. You know, he's looking at all these things, because when you're fasting, what are you doing? You're denying your flesh. So lucky, I don't want to veer off topic. Okay, for if any man think himself to be something, and when he is nothing, the scriptures are telling you, he deceiveth himself. Because there's always something to learn. You never get to that point where I've learned everything. You never get to that point. Okay, the scriptures say in Ecclesiastes, there's certain things that are in the book. What's it? Ecclesiastes 3:28. Okay, there's certain things. Search not things that are above your strength. So there's still things in these scriptures that the scriptures, we have 100% truth, but there's still things in these scriptures that haven't really been fully revealed, which Yahweh is going to reveal in the kingdom. That's why he said, search not things that are above thy strength. You may have a certain brother that knows a particular thing and you don't know it. Okay, so there's always, wisdom is infinity. Wisdom don't stop. Wisdom don't stop with 10 years, 30 years. And who's the example of that? The apostles of Great Millstone. They're still learning stuff 30 plus years in this truth. And they're still learning. Why? Because wisdom does not, like milk, it does not have an expiry date. Wisdom's abounding. Wisdom don't stop. That's why the scriptures, what are they known as? Rivers of living water. Wisdom don't just stop. And that's why I don't understand. Well, I do understand. Well, men have that mentality. 10 years, I don't have to do anything anymore. I can just put my feet up. 15 years, I don't have to do anything anymore. 8 years, I don't have to do anything anymore. I could just let the younger brothers do it. That's the wrong mentality to have. The moment you have that mentality, you're out of the truth. The Lord gets you out of there. Because what are you really saying in your psyche? I've got it. When you haven't got it. The scriptures say, he that endureth to the end shall be saved. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Let's go to Galatians 6, because I didn't finish off on 4. But let every man, see it says every man. So when it says every man, that's talking about on an individualistic basis. Even though you got the brotherhood, you got to work out your own salvation. But let every man prove his own work. You got to prove your own work. You can't be a busybody on another man's page proving his work. Oh, what's he doing? You know, coveting. You got to prove your own work. You got to prove what you're doing. You can't be focused on what another man's doing all the time. Because then, guess what? You're not going to be... It's like someone in McDonald's flipping burgers. Oh, he's flipping burgers better than me. Okay, you're supposed to be flipping burgers. And while this guy's flipping burgers, sending the burgers out, okay, making that money, here you are looking at the other man where your burgers are being burnt up. your works being burnt up. Because you're looking at this next man. You need to focus on yourself. When you focus on yourself, that's when you can grow. That's when you can grow. That's when you know yourself. A lot of men still don't know their purpose. It's like in Deuteronomy, what's it, 9 or 8? That same generation that was walking about in the wilderness. Okay, not knowing what to do. Waiting to die. Even though their raiment never waxed old. Or their shoes never waxed old. Even though these miracles were being done, they were still walking around not knowing what to do. That's why you got to work at your own salvation, prove that own self. And once you start knowing yourself, you're more comfortable in your own skin. Okay? Because really that's an insecurity. You're always looking at what this person's doing. That's an insecurity. You got to know your lot. If you don't know your lot, pray to Yahweh Shai to know your purpose, to know your lot. Okay? For every man shall bear, Salakia, let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself. It says it here. Then will he have rejoicing in himself. You're not going to rejoice in another man's work. There was an individual, I'll call it a demon, a false brethren that came into this truth, and guess what he was always doing? He was always leaning on me. He was coveting what I was doing. He would see me do a video and he would do the same thing, but the same thing, just be a mockingbird. The Lord ain't looking for mockingbirds. The Lord's looking for leaders. Those that are servants, that become leaders. That's what we're here to be, leaders of Israel. Okay? Then she have rejoicing in himself. Then you're able to rejoice in your. Well, already we rejoice in your house, but we're able to rejoice in ourselves, our own works. Why? Because you proved yourself. You tested yourself. You examined yourself. Alone, in himself alone. You notice how it says alone. Not in this brother. Well, he's doing this, so, put that on my tab. No. You got to rejoice in himself and not in another. Oh, well, I'm going to make it on what this brother does. No, you're not. No, you're not. You got to make it on what? Your belief, your faith. Because if you don't have faith, you're not going to make it. You can't make it off another man's faith. Guys think that, well, I came into the truth with this brother. I just want to make it clear. I did not come into the truth with any other man. Okay, just to make that clear, because guys seem to get things twisted. Guys seem to think I came into the truth with another. I didn't come into the truth with another man. Okay, this man so happened to come a few weeks or a few months after me. Okay, and we were chopping it up with the scriptures. Okay, and now he's no longer here. Okay. Why? Because I was working out my own salvation. Okay, this individual, he wasn't working out his own salvation. Okay, he was trying to lean on another man's works, and you cannot do that. And that's the importance. So I'm not just reading these scriptures without experience. This is what I've experienced. I've experienced this. That's why these scriptures, I'm bringing it out. Really be careful when you do that. Yeah, you bear your brother's burdens, but at the same time you let your brother know, look, you got to find this out for yourself. You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink it. You really got to be in this for yourself. You really got to examine yourself. You really got to know, look, this is the truth. And that's why guys fall out, because they were too busy leaning on another man. Or maybe if I link up with this guy or that guy, and they never built up on themselves. So what happens? They end up falling out. It tells you that in Matthew 7:24. Okay, verse 5. For every man shall bear his own burden. We're still in Galatians 6:5. For every man shall bear his own burden. So the scriptures are telling you, you have to bear your own burden. Okay, your own tribulation, your own trial. Every brother's trial is different. Okay, but we suffer similar trials. Okay, and we still suffer the same pain. Okay. For every man shall bear his own burden. You got to bear your own burden. You got to carry your cross. A lot of men don't want to carry their cross. You can't tell another man to carry your cross. Here it is, I got my cross. And you're trying to put your cross upon me. You can't do that. You're trying to weigh another brother down with your own shit that you're going through. Okay? Excuse me. For every man shall bear his own burden. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him. Okay? That teacheth in all good things. But what do? We communicate on what we were taught. We would communicate with each other. Ring a brother up. You know? Chop it up in the scriptures. You know? Verse 7, be not deceived, for the Most High is not mocked. Do you really think you can deceive, pull the wool over Yahweh Yahushua's eyes? The Most High is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he so also reap. So what? If you're sowing into the spirit, you're going to reap of the spirit. If you're sowing into the flesh, you're going to reap of the flesh. Because if you're in the spirit most of the time, you're not going to have time to what? Fulfill the deeds of the flesh. And that's why we push to the best of our ability. Okay? Not to say all the time you're going to be in the spirit, but what? It's a battle. It's a challenge. Okay? Verse 8, for he that soweth to his flesh shall reap of corruption. And what is corruption? Death. That's why we die. But he that soweth to the spirit shall reap of the spirit. Shall of the spirit reap everlasting life. And that's what we're trying to reap, everlasting life. Okay, what brings immortality? Righteousness. And how does righteousness come about? By being in the spirit. Okay, because we can't keep all the laws, and I'm not one to boast on the laws. Why? Because I know I can't keep all the laws. And I know there's laws I'm breaking that I may not even haven't acknowledged throughout the day. That I may be breaking that I wouldn't even acknowledge. Because there's Esau has set up this system where everything you do without even knowing, it could be going off. You're wearing different fabrics. You do know I've got different fabrics. Okay, what's this? Polyester. Okay, jeans, cotton. So you're going off right there. That's why I don't hold anybody. I'm not gonna hold a man to the complete law. Why? Because how are you being saved by? How are you being saved? How are you gonna be saved when Yahushua comes for you? How are you gonna be saved? Through your faith in Him. That's how you're gonna be saved. Through your faith in Yahushua. That's how you're being saved. Not through your own works, man. That's why we don't boast of works. Okay, you're being saved through your faith in Yahushua. That's what's going to deliver you. But we still keep the law. The scriptures say, do we make void the law? No, we establish the law. Because the law is good, it's not grievous. And the law does bring forth righteousness. Okay? Because where the law is, okay, what? Sin is driven away. Okay? But where the law is, there's also sin. Okay? Because you wouldn't know what sin is unless you had the law. Okay, and without the law, you guess what? You wouldn't know what sin is. Okay, and what sin? It's transgression of the law. Okay, and what does that transgression of the law bring? What? The curses, so forth, and death. That's why we're in this condition. So the law is important. At the same time, don't let anybody tell you the law ain't important. It's important, but where is our righteousness going to come from? Yahushua. Because there was individuals keeping the law. There was individuals some individuals keeping all the laws, but they didn't believe in Yahushua. So where did they stand in the whole scheme of this? Because you can keep the laws, but if you don't believe in Yahushua, then that means that's all vain. Okay? Because Yahushua he's the fulfillment of the whole law. Okay? Yahushua is actually the fulfillment of the whole law. Didn't he say he's the volume of the book? Okay? Yahushua, he's the Passover. Ain't the Passover, ain't that a law to keep the Passover? Who's the Passover? Who's the Lamb? Yahushua. He's the fulfillment of the whole law. So, okay. So what's the most important thing? Faith. Okay. Your belief in Yahushua. That He is the Son of the Most High. He is the Son of Yahweh. That's the most important thing. And through that, guess what? Through that faith, guess what? You're going to keep the Lord to the best of your ability. Okay. Through faith. Okay, right now you got to remember this is a rehearsal. In the scriptures it says we're going to be doing all this perfectly in the kingdom, all of it. Let's go to Ephesians. Let's go to that. Isaiah as well. Let's go to Isaiah. Right, everything you see now is a rehearsal. Because we're not in our kingdom right now. And the reason why we can remember, it wasn't even the law wasn't imperfect. It was us. We could not keep the law. Okay, that's why Yahushua what's He do? Establish a new law, a new covenant. Okay, which was going to make us perfect unto salvation. Because we couldn't keep all the law. So where's the room for boasting in the law? It's what I don't understand about certain individuals. You know, well, if you're not keeping all the law, well, you gonna die. Well, you're being a hypocrite because you're not keeping all the 613 commandments. So what? You gonna die. You see, but you see the hypocrisy, and you got to be careful of that spirit. You know, is he keeping all the laws? Are you keeping all the laws? The answer is no. But we keep it to the best of our ability. You don't eat pork. You don't get lineups. You keep the Sabbath. Okay? Sometimes you may miss the Sabbath. Okay? Well, if you miss that Sabbath, the next day, guess what? You keep it. Okay? This is a rehearsal. So let's go into Isaiah 2. Let's go into Isaiah 2. And this is going to be an example of us keeping the laws. Isaiah 2 and 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days. Okay? Which we are in the last days. These are the last days of the last days. That the mountain of the Lord's house. What's the mountain? The governing body. Which is going to be what? Israel. Beginning with Yahweh Shai. Okay? Beginning with Yahweh Shai, King David, and the apostles on down. Okay? Excuse me. The mountain of the Lord's house shall be established, set up. Okay? Founded. In the top of the mountains. What's the top of the mountains? These other governments. Okay? Which are the other nations. And shall be exalted above the hills. Okay? These other governments, these other nations. And all nations shall flow unto it. So all nations are going to flow unto us. All nations, guess what? They're going to be tributaries unto us. Okay? And many people shall say, go and say, and come ye. Let us go up to the mountain, the government of Israel, of the Lord Yahweh, to the house of power of Jacob. And he will teach of us of his ways. Why? Because the law is going to be what? Written in our inward parts. Perfection. And we will walk in his paths. Okay? What's the paths of the Lord? Righteousness. The paths of righteousness. Okay? For out of Zion, okay, Jerusalem. What does Zion mean? Monument. And that's what we are, monument unto the Heavenly Father. Shall go forth the law. Okay? Which the law, what? It's going to be perfect. Okay? And the word of the Lord Yahweh from Jerusalem. That's where the Lord's going to come forth out of. And he shall judge among the nations and rebuke many people and shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Okay, what are these? Farming instruments, okay, for toiling, for digging. Okay, and these instruments are going to be used, what? To build up our kingdom. Because they're going to have, these other nations, they're going to have to be put to use. Okay? And their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation. Why? Because there ain't going to be no more war anymore. Okay, there's going to be peace. Okay, for the children of Israel. Okay, and they shall learn, neither shall they learn war anymore. There's not going to be need for no more war. And this cuts them gutter rats up in the land of Israel right now. Because the scriptures say when the children of Israel return to their land, there's going to be no more war. So this prophecy cuts them. Okay, because ain't there war? There's always war in that land of Israel. Okay, with the so-called Palestinians and so forth. Okay. O house of Jacob, come ye and let us walk in the light of the Lord. What's part of walking in the light of the Lord? The laws. Okay, the right paths. Okay. And this is what we're going to be doing. Why? Because the laws are going to be writ in our inward parts. Okay. That stony heart's going to be moved away. Let's go to Ezekiel. Okay. That's what a lot of individuals don't understand. Okay, if you're trying to frame yourself by keeping all the laws, you've already failed. Okay, and you've already failed by doing that. Okay, that's why I don't boast of the law. You won't see me boasting of the law. Because if you were to boast of the law, that means by all means, for certain things you've done, you would have to be stoned. You know, many of the scriptures. Have you read the law? On particular things that you would do that would cause you to be stoned. You see what I mean? Isaiah, that's why you got to really understand the whole purpose of Yahushua coming. You really got to understand the whole purpose of him coming. To redeem us from what? Our sins. Okay, and what would our sins bring forth? Death. And what was sin? Transgression of the law. That's why he came to bring that better covenant. Let's go to 24 verse Ezekiel 36 and 24. Okay? For I will take you from among the heathen, and I will gather you out of all the countries. Okay? Because that shows was scattered. Israel was scattered amongst all these other nations. So it's telling us that we'd what? Be taken from, gathered out of all these other countries. Okay? Whether it be the land of what? India. Okay, so forth. All these different nations, we'd be gathered out. Okay, of these other nations. Okay? I will gather you from among the heathen and gather you out of all the countries. That shows you have Israelites scattered throughout all the other nations. And I will bring you into your own land. So it's told that we'd be brought into our own land. What's our own land? The land of Canaan. But before we're brought into that land, what needs to happen? Those that are in that land now need to be taken out of that land. That land's going to have to be destroyed. Okay? Verse 25. Remember that I sprinkle clean water upon you. Okay? It talks about what? By the washing of the water, by the words. Okay? And how are we clean? By this word. By Yahushua. Okay? From all your filthiness and from all your idols will I cleanse you. Because how are we raised up? We were raised up as Gentiles. I'm sure when you were born, you didn't just realize you were Israelite straight away. You were in what? The fashion of what? The heathens. Okay? Idolism. Whether you were Christian, whether you were a Muslim, whether you were in wherever you were. Okay? And I will cleanse you. Verse 26. And a new heart also will I give you. So Yahushua is going to give you a new heart, a new mind. Okay? Will I give you, and a new spirit. So it's telling you, Yahushua is going to give you a new spirit. Okay? Will I put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh. What's that stony heart? Not being able to do the righteous acts that you want to. Okay? And I will give you a heart of flesh. Okay? Which is what? The heart of obedience. Okay? To fulfill Yahushua's will. Okay? In full. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes. As it said in Isaiah 2. We're going to be walking in the Lord's statutes. There's not going to be no, I couldn't do this. I could not. No, everything's going to be perfect. Okay? And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes. Okay? It says he will cause us to walk in his statutes. And you shall keep my judgments and do them. Okay, so right now it's a rehearsal. It's a practice of what's to come in the kingdom. Okay, and you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers. What? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which was a promise, which was an inheritance, which was an oath, which he swore what to give to our fathers. Okay, and you shall be my people, and I will be your power. Okay, so this was the promise. This was the actual promise that was promised to the children of Israel. Okay, which was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, but right now, what are we doing? It's a practice. It's a rehearsal to the best of our ability. So with this lesson, I could go on. See, that's how the Spirit is. The Spirit is like rivers of living, of flowing water. Okay, but right now, I'm gonna shut off here. And Lord, winning this lesson was edifying. And to you, Akiam and Akwaf out there, keep believing, keep pushing, and shalom to the hopeful elect across the globe. Shalom.